So I'm going to be speaking about breathing and pranayama. Comes from it matters a lot to me. I think just breathing right for me personally, and also it seems to be something that I want to just take out into the world. So this was great because now this forms the base of the workshop that I'm offering on Saturday on learning to breathe, which also I did thanks to this. So now let me open my, just a second. Mm-hmm. I don't know why my PowerPoint is not showing up. Let me try again. Here we are. I do have a PowerPoint. I would have loved to do it without one, but I think some of the information is just easier if it's out there. Okay, here we are. So welcome to this very short topic, and I chose the topic as breathing and pranayama because I think it just fell into place. What connects the two, because it sounds like the same thing, but also what is very different about the two. And so that's how I would be talking about it. So let's start with breath, because breath is what we all know most. We've been familiar. We take our when we are born, the first thing and the most important thing for us is that first breath. And if we don't breathe, then you're either brain dead or essentially you die anyway. So clearly, just breathing is the most important thing to begin to be alive. And one of the questions that sometimes when I'm just doing a deep breathing or meditation is, am I breathing or is the universe breathing me? Sometimes I really get the sense that the universe is breathing me. And I found this in Leslie Kaminoff's work. I will give you the reference later, in which he talks about breathing as a process of creating space. So just by expansion, when we open our chest, we create the space, and then the universe fills us. So in a sense, the universe does breathe us. So it's an interactive process. It's not isolated in that sense. And that's Van Gogh, one of my favorite paintings. It's almost like he's captured the breath of the universe. There are also, if you see online, I don't think I will have time to show it, but you have videos of where they show that the earth itself also seems to breathe. With the changing of the seasons, the way the forest land increases or decreases across the poles, there is a change in the carbon dioxide and oxygen saturation across the earth. So there is a breath and a rhythm across the earth, and possibly, I guess, across the universe. And we need to be in tune with that. And I think most nature is in tune with the universal breath. As human beings, we have somehow managed to get ourselves out of sync with that. So we're creating an imbalance for ourselves and, of course, for the world by just not perhaps breathing the way we should be. And how is it connected to prana? So akasha, if we take the yogic concepts, that's the materia prima of the universe, so to say, the essential matter from which everything gets formed through the rest of the panchatattvas. And prana is what breathes life into it. So Akasha is like the consciousness and prana is the life force. And so the two need to be together to create this material world, this vyavaharic world that we see. Um, and so the two then become very, very interconnected. So let's talk a little bit about breathing. Like I said, it is the mechanics of it is that we take a deep breath, inhale the diaphragm, which is the red muscle you see there in the rib cage here. That's the primary muscle of breathing. That's working actually pretty much day and night tirelessly. And if I were to give you some numbers, I'm afraid I don't remember it very well. And maybe in the end, I can talk about the numbers. I close this presentation and open that thing up. But if we are talking about babies breathing something like 32 times in an hour. And then as we grow older, our breath is supposed to slow down and we take 15 to 16 breaths in an hour. Earlier medical textbooks used to speak about 12 to 14 breaths. Today, it has become 15 to 16, which is already an indicator of the fact that we're breathing faster. And the number of breaths, it also is how hard the muscle, the diaphragm needs to work. The other thing with the breathing is, so when the diaphragm works, it pushes the abdominal cavity down. I will put the, I think it's here. I think it's, yeah, it's right here. So if you see this, it's the shape change of the chest and the abdomen. And here, when I show the arrow, can you all see it? Okay. So as you can see, this is when you take a breath in, inhalation. So the diaphragm pushes down and the rib cage moves up. So the chest cavity expands, which is an active process. And the muscle typically is the only one doing real work, is the diaphragm and maybe some of the intercostal muscles here. Exhalation, or throwing out the oxygen, carbon dioxide, is a passive process where the diaphragm just relaxes and the rib cage comes to normal. So it's shape change between these two cavities. So you see either it's either the abdomen or the lung which is increasing or decreasing in its volume, because the sum total of the volume available between these two cavities is actually the same. And which is why we talk about, you know, being on an empty stomach before doing breathing exercises, etc. Because otherwise, if the stomach is full, you're not going to be able to press this down. And so the quality of the breathing and the quality of the oxygenation of the blood is going to change. What does breathing achieve? It's the oxygen that comes in from the breath and it goes into the capillaries of the blood. So the larger the surface area available, the more oxygenation happens. And then during exhalation, when the exchange takes place, the carbon dioxide is thrown out into the atmosphere back from the lungs. And why do we do this? So at the heart of it is the cellular respiration. All chronic pain, suffering, and disease are caused by lack of oxygen at the cellular level. This was Dr. Guyton. He wrote the book, the medical textbook that I studied on physiology, Guyton's Physiology. It's quite a Bible. And so this same process is repeated at the level of each and every cell. And so if the cells are not getting oxygen, the cells are not working well, they are not healthy, and so you start getting ill. And this is one way of understanding the human body. And as you can see, this whole process is explained at the level of the Pranamaya Kosha, so to say, because that's how the understanding of the body has been in the allopathic field for forever, that it is just this body. And so we are talking about the health of this body, which also makes a lot of sense. But now let's come to the yogic understanding of the body, which is the koshas, and the second kosha, which is the Pranamaya Kosha. And there is that energy. So if the Annamaya Kosha is part of the Akasha, then the Pranamaya Kosha is part of the Prana, which is the life force, which also breathes into us, because we can have a body that is alive but comatose, and so is not alert and is not awake. So what happens? There is perhaps not enough prana going through that, and then finally you have a body which is still, which is there, but which is dead, because the prana is completely left the body, and that is death when prana leaves. Pranamaya Kosha is the way the prana flows into the body. It works through all these nadis, some 72,000 of them. Some people say more. Some major, some minor. I'm not going to go into too many details about that. But we heard Sita speak about the Sushumna, which is right in the center and goes through the spinal cord. So what is pranayama? Pranayama is therefore a way of using the breath to control, to get in touch with the larger pranic force of the universe, and being in one with that. And when you have the entire life force of the universe available to you, because now you are connected with it, and then you can control it, then anything is possible. That's when they say you are the creator of your own life. And all the fantastic siddhis that the yogis have all come from having control over this. And how do you get there? So that is the possibility that is offered to us. That is the freedom that yoga talks about. That is the union that yoga talks about. Then you are truly at one with the entirety of the universe. And the way to connect with it, the most obvious and the simplest way is through the breath, because the breath is also the vehicle for the prana. One of the vehicles, but the most easily accessible one. And so Swami Vivekananda tells a story about...
Sorry, it's just 10 minutes, so just letting you know.
Sorry, so I won't tell the story. And this is actually pretty much, I think, the last slide. So the breath is the control, is the way to get in touch with the prana. Some of the references that you might want to look at, if you wish to go further into this. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you.